Hello, this is the notes for 1.1 day 1, adding integers using a number line. And you should have received a handout that looks like this. If you have not received a handout, make sure you go to my class webpage where you found this video. On that same page, you will see a PDF document that you can download and print from home, and then you can do the video with us. Now this will go on the left side of your notebook. Remember, left side is always for notes, right side is always for homework. So glue this down and make sure you have at least 2 different colors to use your notes, to write your notes. I have blue and red today, so you can use those colors or any 2 other colors you would like. So here for the notes, we have it split up into 4 sections again. Okay, I try to do this as much as possible to keep your notes consistent. And on the top left, we're going to start with the vocabulary words we see in this box. And it's actually not a vocabulary word for the first one. It's adding integers using the number line. These are the steps for adding integers. So the first step is you're going to start at 0. And then the second step is you're going to draw an arrow to the first integer. And then on the third step, if the second integer is positive, you're going to move to the right. So write that word in the blank. And then for the next part, it says if the second integer is negative, you're going to move to the left. Okay. And then the other thing in this box is the additive inverse property. Okay, that is a property is kind of like a math law, like one of the things that, like a rule that we have determined and agreed that is correct always. So this additive inverse property says when a number and its opposite are added, the sum is 0. So in this example, we have 3 plus negative 3. They're opposites, so our answer is 0. Now we're going to move to the next section of our notes. At the top right, it says add using a number line. So here we have negative 1 plus 4, and I'm going to use 2 different colors, red and blue. So for the first integer, it's negative 1. So because it's negative, I'm going to move to the left 1 space, and I'm going to do that in red. So my red's going to be the negative. Okay. Now the second integer, it says plus 4. So because that's positive, I'm going to move to the right 4 spaces, starting from where I left off. So here I'm going to have, with my blue, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to end at 3. Okay, so I'm going to circle 3, and then that's my answer. So this here equals 3, and then box it. Okay, so let's try another one. Let's look at number 2. On number 2, we have 2, so we start at 0. We're going to go to the right 2 because it's positive. Okay, so you're going to go to the right 2. And then we're going to add a negative 3. So here to add a negative 3, we move to the left because we're going to the negative direction. So starting from here, let me take my red pen. We're going to move 3. 1, 2, 3. So where I end up, that's my answer. So in this problem, my answer is negative 1. So I'll write negative 1. Okay, let's take a look at number 3. Number 3 says negative 2 plus negative 3. And by the way, sometimes students will start to ask, why are there parentheses around the second one? And the reason why is because if there's a plus sign and then a negative following it, they want to use these parentheses to make it look more clear to the reader that you're adding a negative. Without the parentheses, you get a whole bunch of signs together and it starts to look very confusing. So that's the only reason why we have a parentheses on the second number. It's because it's a negative following an operation symbol. Okay, so let's go back to doing the problem. So we start at 0 and we're going to go to negative 2. So since I'm going to the left, negative 2, I'm going to use red. Okay, so 2 to the left. And now it says here to add a -3. So from -2, I'm going to move 3 spaces to the left because it's negative. 1, 2, 3. And then we circle that. So my answer is -5. Okay? And then for the last one, number 4. On number 4, it says -5 plus 7. So again, start at 0. And you're going to go to the first integer, which is -5. So I'm going to go all the way, oops, I should use red, to the left. Okay. And now from there, I'm going to add a 7. So when you add 7, that means you're going to go to the right because it's positive starting from here. So taking my blue pen, I'm going to go 7 spaces. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 6, 7. Okay, and where I end up, that's my answer. So this is equal to 2. Well, I forgot equal signs on my other ones, equals and equals. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to look at the lower left side of your notes, and we're going to talk about 2 properties. The first property is the commutative property of addition, and that property says that numbers can switch places and have the same sum. So you knew that, but you probably didn't know there was a word for a property, or you may have forgotten. So here we have 5 plus 3 is the same thing as 3 plus 5. So that's a math law. You can do that, change the order, you get the same answer. The next property is the associative property of addition, and that's where you can group the numbers in any combination. So when you're adding more than 2 numbers, here's an example. We have 3 plus 14 plus 6. We can add these 2 first and then add the 6 to it and we'll get 23. Or here we can add the 14 and the 6 first. Some people might want to do that because it equals 20. And then you add 3 to that and you get 23 again. So you always get the same answer, but you can just add any 2 numbers and then the third number and get that same answer. Okay, so now we're going to use those properties, and also we're going to use the additive inverse property, which we talked about at the very beginning, and that one is when a number and its opposite are added, the sum is 0. Okay, we're going to use those properties to help us solve these problems. So for number 5, at number 5 it says 8 plus 13 plus -13. So some of you might notice that right away, look what we have. We have 13 plus -13, they're opposites. Okay, because they're opposites, that means they're going to equal 0 according to the additive inverse property. So we're going to use the associative property, and we're going to group these. So I'm going to take my red pen, I'll just put like brackets. I'm using brackets because parentheses have already been used. Okay, so I'm going to put brackets around the parentheses. I just want you to write the word associative property, abbreviate on the side. That's what we're doing here. Okay, we know that that equals 0. So this equals 0. And then we bring down the 8. Okay, now it's easier to solve. 8 plus 0 is 8. Okay, so we just used the associative property without even knowing it was the associative property. Now let's look at number 6. On number 6, we have -12 plus 7 plus 12. Now we could add them like normal, go left to right, but if you notice, some people may have noticed, you have -12 here, and then you have a +12. So we can actually rewrite the order. We're going to change the order like this. And this is, we're using here the commutative property. So I'm going to write commutative, abbreviate. Okay. And what I did was I just switched the 7 and the 12 so that the 12 could be close to its opposite. All right, and now look, we can group, just like the associative property says we can group the 2 opposite numbers together. So we're going to write associative at the side, okay, and then we're going to solve it. So we know that -12 plus 12, well, that's 0, and then 0 plus 7 is 7. So let's write that in there, 0 plus 7, that's going to equal 7. And that's all for your notes. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.